Saturday.
Welcome to the Bleeding Burgundy podcast, a Washington Commanders podcast for fans, by fans. With your host, Jesse Martin.
What are you talking about? You're out of your mind.
John Taman.
We finally got professional football back. This is going to be fun.
Scott Hartley.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Max Taylor.
As long as you got Jaden Daniels, you got a chance to win.
Spanning the eras of Washington football. Honoring the past. Commanding the future. And now, the world's worst podcast host, John Taylor.
Oh, since John is on mute.
John, he's the world's worst podcast host because he's on mute.
Jesus Christ, John.
Well, hell, man, it's a Saturday afternoon, and I am the world's worst podcast host, even on a Saturday afternoon. This is pretty damn bad. Hey, what up, Scott? Scott G says we're starting on time. So the typical lateness is due to Scotty. We didn't want to say anything, Scott, but the dude has a punctuality problem.
Those lists don't make themselves.
Yeah, and starting on time is something that is really a sliding scale today because we're not even supposed to be on today. About an hour and a half ago, I just got a wild hair up my ass after having everybody kick me up and down through social media because I am not a fan of the Diami Brown signing. That might as well just come on here and chat about it. See if it's nobody else doing anything. What else are we going to do? Talk about some football. There's my good friend over there from Southeastern Virginia. He's not doing anything today either, so we're going to talk some football. There he is, Jesse. Hey! Seems like we just saw you the other day.
Yeah. It's long time no see situation. How are you boys doing?
Wow, I'm doing fine. I mean, didn't I just kind of go through all that? Tony, how are you doing? There's Tony Week, our good friend from the silent room where he's been forced to go to in the white room.
It's a padded cell.
That's right. I wasn't going to say anything.
That's what happens when you return from a week of drinking in Tenerife. You get sent here.
Well, this is to make sure you don't have any, cooties or anything like that. That's pretty good. So, hey, man, how did you like the week of free agency? We didn't get to talk to you last week. I know. I felt like I missed out because that's like one of the best weeks of the year to be a part of, and I was sat drinking beer, watching the sun go down. Hell of a week. I mean, absolutely. We'll get into it, but delighted overall. I think they ticked all the things that I wanted them to do. Not even specifically players, but just in terms of getting, as they said, and as Peter said, younger, faster, more dynamic. Mm-hmm. They did that.
They've kind of ticked all those boxes. So far, and it does what we talked about as well. It kind of gives them a little bit more clarity and direction in terms of the draft.
Well, let's see who's this here, Mr. Z Warrior. Hello. Anyway. I agree. I think it really opened up the draft, and even with what they've continued to do. We just did a podcast on Thursday to talk about all of the exciting moves that have happened then, but they haven't stopped. They re-signed Chris Paul, which made me very, very happy. I'm a big fan of his. Jerome Ford today. I think that's a really good signing. Diami Brown, Van Jefferson. We'll get into that. But I mean, even as I sit here and maybe sneer at those a little bit, dude, if that's the worst that we're doing, what a week. I mean, look, as an old-time Redskins Commanders fan, all the way back, starting well before Dan Snyder, but once Dan got here, I know what it's like to win the spring Super Bowl, man. We do this a lot. Oh, my God, look what we've done. And it fizzles. Do you feel a fizzle, Jesse? You feel a fizzle?
No, I think Peters and company, they had a plan. They attacked their plan. Did they get everybody they want? No, but they're not going to do that. Nobody does. But it seems like they had a plan A, B, C, and D for each situation. Mm-hmm. And they attacked. I mean, the needs were clear as day. If we could sit on the couch and point out what they needed, you're damn sure that they're going to know what they need.
Oh, yeah.
and they've gotten younger, faster, and better on all levels of the fucking defense.
Sorry, this is great. Paul's having some fun. John and Jesse are goddamn hillbillies.
I guess
Tony,
a beard this day, nowadays considers yourself a hillbilly.
God dang, but I'll tell you what,
God dang,
just this here podcasting is some nifty stuff, boy.
At least we got our teeth, though.
That's right.
Dukes of Hazzard.
That we do. We have teeth. So what I'm asking though, in the past, we've seen ourselves do wonderful things in April and in March and whatnot, but it always fizzles when we get to the season because it never quite fit. They really didn't know what they were doing. They were just signing names. So what do you feel as if, because I asked Jesse and he missed the question, I'll go to you, Tony. Do you feel this year as if, even though we've made these great moves this past week, will it translate to success on the field?
Well, I mean, time will tell. I think the important thing is I don't think they just went out, as Jesse said, they had a plan A, B, C, D, whatever it is. These guys, despite what some fans think, these guys do this for a living.
Yes, they do.
They didn't just turn up on Monday morning and go, geez, we better think of some guys that we want to sign tonight. They've been doing this since the end of the season. So they'll have had plans, they'll have had contingency plans. You saw what happened with, apparently they were in on Phillips and Jalen Phillips then signs for wherever he signed for, the Panthers.
Carolina, I believe. Right?
Yeah. And so they pivoted
A
from
lot
that.
of money.
Yeah, they pivoted from that to OA, and it took a little bit longer. A lot of people panicked.
He signed this morning.
Yeah. So yeah, it is always worth mentioning and worth remembering that the off-season champions are rarely the guys that dominate. The Patriots obviously kind of turned that around a little bit last year, but I think what they did, as we've already kind of said, is they addressed all the needs that they needed to make the defense was a priority. They've addressed the needs on all levels of the defense. Still need some work in the secondary and the back seven basically.
Sure,
but
we need center too.
Let's be honest as well. Apart from OA, they've not signed, and OA's not a big name superstar necessarily. They've not done the lavish, ridiculous Albert Hainsworth type contract or bringing in Bruce Smith and Deion Sanders at the end of their career kind of thing. My whole thing, and I know we talked about this, and I did it as a deliberately sort of narrow exercise when I looked at my free agent list that I wanted. I didn't put anybody over 30 on it. Sorry, Mike Evans was the one example, the one exception. But just as an exercise, when I looked at the top 150 free agents, it was like, who are these guys who are 26, 27, second contract, third contract guys who are still young enough, hungry enough, and want to play? And I think pretty much everybody that they've signed fits into that category near enough.
I don't think they've signed anybody over 30 as of yet. That was, other than like Dietrich Wise and guys that they brought back, but I don't think they brought in anybody that's over the age of 30. The thing also I'm going to build on that a little bit with is not just that they got younger, but they gave multi-year deals out, man. And that's something that Adam Peters hasn't done yet, which when you try to logically look at and explain to people that freak out and say, oh, he just automatically thought we were in a Super Bowl position and went cheap last year. He gave 1-year deals because there wasn't jack shit out there really worth buying. And even though the Patriots did buy, they also had an excellent season out of their quarterback. There's been a couple of teams in the past, the Buccaneers come to mind, that have gone out and bought a trip to the Super Bowl. But this time, what they're doing, I think it will translate to wins on the field. You got here Evenflow C5C, good to meet you. He says he thinks it will as well, unless it's a she. But
he says he doesn't think it will.
No, you don't think it's going to translate to will? No, I think because of the question I was asking. Oh, well, I'll tell you what. We'll get to him in a minute. I think it can translate to wins on the field because Jaden Daniels is there. All right. So regardless, if you strengthen up those positions that we needed so much help with and are able to make that defense go from 32nd to say, 25th,
yeah.
It's not like they need to get tons better with what our quarterback is able to do if he can stay healthy.
See, I think you kind of missed my point when I was answering your question, John. It's good on paper. Okay.
Yeah.
We see this on paper, and we're not going to know anything until it's on the field. And that, I think, has to do with scheme, coaching staff, play calling, and et cetera. So we're not going to know, but everything that's been done, we can see that, they're trying to get better. They're trying to fix the issues. And it looks like they did, but again, we're not going to know until October.
No.
Well, I
I
think
mean, there's so many variables that go into whether it's going to translate into winning.
Right.
Jesse's touched on a few there. You've got everything else, injuries, third downs, all the different variables that were great in 24 and terrible in 25. There are so many things, and the margins, as we know, are so fine in the NFL between 5 and 12. So we could, the Commanders could easily have won 3 or 4 more games last year based on not much changing. So
stop a couple of drives.
But all they've done at this stage is all they can do. It's the first few pieces in the jigsaw that will include more signings, the draft, and then how the new schemes, how the new coaches, how the new systems all fit together.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the difference that I see with what they're doing here, even though they're out there lavishly spending, they're buying a lot, as opposed to the old days where we were just buying willy-nilly. They're buying players that are complementary to what they need to do.
We were buying shiny toys back
right.
then.
We were buying baubles back in the day. We were buying ticket sellers. Now we're buying things that fit the puzzle pieces. What I was going to get to with that, it was a comment that somebody had mentioned this morning to me. In talking about the draft, I really think that what we've done this week opens it wide up, right? And at 7, if we stick and pick at 7, I think no matter how it plays out ahead of us, we're guaranteed to get somebody of impact right away. With what we've got and what we've built, we can go any which way we want. Any which way we want.
Yeah,
there's some
you're right. It's whoever is the highest on their board at the time. I mean, I don't see an offensive lineman being picked, but who's ever is the highest on their board. I will say the one thing that is just in the back of my mind worries me a little bit. When signing all these players, the one thing that hasn't really been addressed is pass coverage. We got a lot better in stopping the run, which with pretty much all of our defensive picks, all of our picks were really focused on stopping the run and getting to the quarterback. But who's going to cover the receivers? Last year, Mikey Sanders still, Marshawn Lattimore, and Amos to an extent, but even though I think he was our best cornerback, weren't very good at it. Take that with Quan, take that with Will Harris. I know they like Will Harris. I think Will Harris was the most active out of our back 7. And was the best
trying
communicator.
To make up for all of Quan's mistakes.
That's true. and was the best communicator at back there.
I could clearly hear him on television a lot of times going, "What the fuck are y'all doing?"
Yeah. The players that we brought in, Chanel and the safety that we brought in, they're not known for their pass coverage at all.
Cross isn't bad. Cross has got good speed too. He can do a lot of things. But when you say stopping the run, 100%, but getting after the quarterback will make that back end better.
Makes your secondary
Amik
look
Robertson
better,
came along, right? Amik Robertson was our first signing. I think I said his name right.
Yeah.
He was our first signing. So if you're looking at him, Sanderstill, and Amos with a pass rush now, with somebody that can get after him and make it so that they are not able to just freaking stand back there all doggone day and do whatever they want, or pick on the linebacker who can't cover anybody, since we've got guys now with a little bit more speed there. I think that's going to make the difference. And, they've got Mansour in for Mansour Delane is in for a visit today, right? I think, or they're going to
get top 30. He's a top
30 visit. So he's on their list. They really can go a lot of different ways with what they do in the draft. At this moment, personally, I'm hoping wide receiver, but that's at this moment. With what they do, who knows? I'm thinking, Jeremiah Love is in play big time, but then they go sign Jerome Ford today, and I'm looking at this committee thinking that ain't too bad. Go ahead. You don't think so? You don't think that precludes not drafting Love?
I don't think so. I mean, if you look at the deal for what's Rashad White, $2 million,
1 year,
and I think Love is 100% in play. I think they're
less than that.
Yeah, they're protecting themselves in case he's not there. I think he's the target at 7, and if he's not at 7, then they're going to try to trade back. I don't think any of these wide receivers are worth a top 10 pick. So we could very well could go defense.
Go ahead.
I think they've not boxed themselves into a corner now, because if they didn't get the edge that they were looking for,
right?
And you have to assume that they were looking for one of Phillips, Owe, or a couple of others. So they've got one of the name edges that they wanted.
Right.
And they've also got some good depth. They've got Chase on, and re-signed Wise, and what's the guy from the Chiefs on? And how'd you pronounce his name? And the other edge anyway.
The official name pronouncer of the Bleeding Birdie podcast is off having himself a weekend.
Where's Scott when you need him?
Yeah, but again, none of those defensive ends are on the roster after this year. So I can definitely see them going DN in the draft as well, too. I don't see that being 100%, out of the question.
100%.
Well, that's why I say, when you look at 7, we can literally go with the BPA that falls to us and be able to, I don't want to use the term fill a need, but the puzzle piece fits, for what we need to do. Because I don't care what anybody says. BPA and need go hand in hand and hand in hand. You can't think of one without thinking of the other. It's just impossible. Because, like you said, Jesse, you're not picking offensive line, right? Yeah. Even though the best guy might be an offensive lineman when it comes time for us to pick. But so need does always fall into play. And where we're sitting right now with what they've done this week, you would think they're probably going to go offense, but it really doesn't matter at this juncture.
I mean,
we whatever they want with whoever falls to them.
We could, the way the roster's set up, we could use an extra edge rusher. We can use an extra cornerback. We can use an extra linebacker. We can use an extra wide receiver. But again, the value of the place, just a wide receiver fact. I think the best wide receiver is the guy from Arizona, Tyson. He's got some injury issues. Is he a top 10 pick? Maybe. Is he a number 1 receiver? Like, is that a number 1 worthy? I don't think Tate is. I think he's maybe a 1B, most likely a wide receiver 2. So, like, to me, in my opinion, you're picking a wide receiver at 7. He better be the heir apparent to Terry McLaurin.
Well, that's also got to be thought of, But for me, if the guy is at 7, I don't like this notion of, okay, at 7, you have to pick. I was chatting with a new acquaintance out there on X today about how at that place right there, I want a guy that's going to be in contention for all pro all the time. Well, so do we all the time. But if that's, you can miss the perfect guy for what you have to have.
Right. Whether every year, you
can miss that guy. And I want that guy that puzzle piece that falls right in there and the whole picture comes together. That to me is worth number 7. If it gets us what we need, I don't care about all of that ancillary stuff that you're trying to add this value to it that's not really tangible. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? I should. Yeah, I haven't even had a drink yet today.
Not even drink. Well, if they're going to go, like you said, they're not going to go offensive line. They're obviously not going to go quarterback. But if whoever the best player on the board is at 7, they're now freed up to be able to pick because they're not absolutely requiring themselves. Yeah, so I don't think
into one or two players
still got a big hole in it.
Yeah, but I don't think. I think if you are just at that point where you can say, right, well, we picked the best player available. I don't think Tate, Tyson, Lemon are going to be Delane, any of the other corners, McCoy. I don't think they're going to be rated higher on the board than some of the guys who are going to be left because you can be pretty sure with the way that the tackle market is and everything else now, and that one of the edges, Styles, Downs, Love, one of those guys is going to be there at 7. Has to be. Just mathematics. Yeah. Mathematics tells you one of those guys has to be. And they're going to be high. They're going to be higher, I would imagine, on their board than any of the corners and any of the receivers. Now, I could be completely wrong, but
that also kind of puts you in a catbird seat for a trade back.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I looking at the board and how we set up in free agency. I would probably lean on going that way if Love is gone.
Or if somebody wants to come up for Love.
And like for me, like Love, I just think he's the best player in the draft. He's immediate impact put in there.
And he's last year. He didn't impact shit.
So how about this? Sorry, go on, John. You go.
No. I'm just making a point about these backs that are always the generational backs that come along. Okay,
they don't come along that much. So
but they also
that's
don't really help the team that got that. I mean, like, hey, the Giants drafted Saquon. They benefited nothing from that. Bijan Robinson down in fucking Atlanta. That team is goddamn. Who the hell knows what the hell they're doing? And poor Bijan, he's stuck.
I mean, he's half their scoring.
Ashton last year was going to be like, oh my god,
Saquon was too. And for a team that's lack of weapons. I mean,
Saquon didn't do the Giants anything. He had some gaudy numbers for him, but they never got anywhere with him.
It can still be half your numbers. They went to a Super Bowl. Yeah. How about this for a scenario then? If we come on the clock at 7 and Love is available and a team calls to trade because they want Love, do you take Love or do you take the trade?
Depends on what the trade is.
Let's say, fair enough. Fair enough. But if the trade is from somebody who's, I don't know, 15th or 16th.
Thank you, just Washington Football 6547. Thanks for subscribing.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, man.
It says we'll give you pick number 48, middle of the second round, to move up, and we drop back to 15 in the first round, pick up a second at 48.
That might be something you have to consider.
Sure.
You weigh what's on. Again, this draft it's a very weak draft. I don't care what anybody says. A lot of these players that are picked in the first round wouldn't be in first rounders in your normal drafts, and that includes some of these wide receivers and some of these players. It's facts. Man.
Where's my Jesse the Amazing Swami? Where's my animation? I mean, I get what you're saying. I understand.
There's like five players that are actually considered first rounders.
Okay, but here we go again with to me, which is where we lose track of reality, because we take these guys at their word that this guy might not, he shouldn't be a first round. And fuck if they know. First round talents bust all over the place. Guys from the back come up and fucking do awesome, amazing things. And then these same guys that told us all that shit give us grades on their draft picks, because it drives me bonkers, the circle of how the hype goes. All right. We all got hyped up on all these players in free agency. And then they're these same guys that hyped them all up. Now they're going to grade the teams on what they did before anything is ever done. So there's always this level of
there's a consensus ranking, and that's the reality of it. And this is what
you're looking at the tea leaves.
Well.
You're looking at the future. These consensus ratings, they're still pretending they can future based on it. That's all I'm saying.
But still, you have to base the value of these. Then you're just throwing fucking darts at a dartboard for no fucking reason.
You're not. I mean,
I'm going to pick this guy.
You scout them. You see what they're getting. No, you scout them. But we have the 7th pick, and I'm not one of these people that's going to sit here and say, well, none of these guys that are sitting here are worth this pick. If that guy that's sitting right there is worth it to me, if he fits my puzzle, then he's worth it. That's my point. I'm not saying you don't draft a number 2 wide receiver at number 7 when that's what you need, and that guy will fit perfectly. And if it turns into success, who cares where we drafted him? That's my whole point.
Well, why pick a number 2 wide receiver when you can get a number 1 linebacker or another 1 defensive end? See, that
depends on what I'm actually looking to pick. I'm just using wide receiver as an example. Whichever one of them is the one that makes my team better, right? And these guys, these ratings fellas, they're throwing numbers together to try to predict the future.
I mean, they're taking the words that they get from scouts and the NFL. They're not just making this shit up.
Trying to predict the future.
That's what you're thinking. People are making this stuff up, and
I don't say they're making it up. What I'm saying is that what they're trying to come to as a conclusion is kind of made up. You can say a guy is going to be good, but you can't predict that they're not going to bust, and you can't predict that this guy from the back is going to fucking roll up and play better than anybody else.
So why wouldn't you want to get the least? Not saying because nobody's bust proof. Nobody. We all know that. Right. We've seen that. Why wouldn't you go for the least percentage of bust possible? Because you have a wide open. You're wide open. You're not pigeonholed. You're not going to go for need. You don't need to go for need. Why wouldn't you try to get the least bust proof prospect and put them on your team when you can use them?
Yeah, okay.
We're not so overcrowded at positions again.
I get you. Look, if it's all right, so let's take Sonny Styles as an example, let's say we're sitting at 7, Styles, Downs, and Tate are available, and Tyson. Hang on a second. We got that's Scott. Scott, unlike Jesse, who does make stuff up. Oh, come on, Scott. Simone's a patina. Hi guys. Much as I love Terry, I don't think he is a true one.
I'm with you on that.
Well, hang on. We'll get to that.
Playing into Jesse's hands here.
Yeah. He's an aging one, and I think if you are a defensive coordinator looking at our team, he's your one. You know, even if we bring in, if you bring in Jennings or Ayuk, which I'm not really thrilled with, Terry's the guy that you rotate over. You know, you just do. Otherwise, he's going to fucking eat you up, and you know that.
I just think going back to the draft grades and all that kind of stuff. When you look at the, I'm not just talking about anyone, but when you, the guys, some of these guys who are ex-scouts, you know what they're doing year on year. Obviously, is they're ranking guys based on traits, characteristics,
right.
Yeah. And so what you can get obviously then is a comparison sort of year on year of where players rank. And I think, you know, this year the consensus seems to be, and like you said, John's not guaranteed to tell you anything about the future, but in terms of people compared to people of other years, I think I read somewhere that there were 13 true first round grades this year from one of the ESPN guys.
Mm-hmm.
In other years, and that's considered to be very low. In other years, it's 20. Other years, it's 22. I think there might have been 16 last year. Yeah, it's not predictive, but I think it just gives you a, you know, everybody likes to put everything in buckets. Obviously, you know,
right.
There's an amount of that, but I think it just gives you an idea of where players are at.
Okay, I mean, as a general, a really roundabout way to look at the overall talent level.
Kind of on that note, I'd almost even be willing to try to pick up something for next year too, because next year's draft is going to be a lot stronger. From what the professionals say, like okay. This is where the wide receivers issue comes into place. Right. I would rather fill wide receiver with, not top draft picks and hit wide receiver next year when we're really going to need it, when there's going to be really good wide receivers coming into the draft, all over the draft, not just 3 of them in the first, round, that aren't really considered first rounders.
You've also got to consider what fits with what they're looking to do, because somebody who might be a great fit in somebody else's defense might be a great fit in Jones's defense. If he's talking about moving people around, playing 3-4 base or whatever, a 3-4 defensive end is going to be a different type of player potentially to someone in a 4-3. Or
absolutely,
we don't know exactly what types of players they're looking to fulfill different roles. They will.
Well, from what we see right now, they're looking for guys that can do a lot of different things. And one of the things that we mentioned on Thursday that I really like is that they can come at the quarterback from anywhere right now. Not just these edges that they signed, but the linebacker that they signed, Chanel, that dude can come from anywhere. Luvo can come from anywhere. They really can mix it up, which is part back to the answer of what we were saying about they haven't really done much building on the back end to try to stop the pass, because I think that's where you try to stop the pass. I've long said so. With the way the rules are now, if you try to stop the pass on the back end, you're dead. You've got to go affect the quarterback first and foremost. If we've got guys that can stick, all right, we don't need them, hopefully, to stick for 4 seconds anymore. Last year they're trying to stick for 6 and 7 seconds, and they're not knowing where to go in the first place. It's terrible. This year, let's go get the quarterback. Let's get them off their spot under 3 seconds, man. Let's get them at 2 seconds, get them moving around and worried about where we are. Washington Football wants to know, are we going wide receiver at 7 or just keep building on defense? I think that's what we've been talking about, that we're wide open. We can practically do anything. And I think that really the little tiny argument that we just had right there is just, I'm not saying that these guys don't know anything, but for first round level talent, whether this year has it or not, this year is where we're picking. This year is what we're in. This year is where we have to do what we need to do for what we have. If you understand.
And I think it's like, based on that, I think it's pivotal because of the lack. It's lacking a little bit of talent, as in other years. Most years. I think you're in a spot where you can do a whole bunch, but you want to be right. You want to make sure that you want to make sure that you get that special player at 7, because you're less likely to, just the percentages of nailing the pick it might be a little bit less than in years past. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It blew us to blue chips, Ohio State wide receivers.
Just to finish up on
Right.
that, on the question, I don't think I'd be surprised if they take a receiver at 7. If they somehow manage to engineer a trade back into the middle of the round, then I think that's a lot
that's
more
where I'm at
likely.
there too.
But at 7, I would be very surprised given who is going to be available at 7. Whichever way the board falls, 1 to 6, take Mendoza off it. So you're talking about 5 more picks before the Commanders select.
Yeah,
You know,
I think it's Downs, not Downs, but I think it's Bailey, Styles, and Love. I think it's one of those 3. I don't see Downs. I think Downs has gotten a lot of hype, but teams just don't pick safeties in the for
They
top
don't.
10.
But see, that throws everybody in a bin, and I just don't think that is fair to the player.
I'm just going off the law of averages, man, and what
I got you.
What happens? You know what team, how teams value.
I get
certain, certain
you've got
certain things.
You know, you've got 3 edges. You've got if you call him recent edge, you've got Styles, you've got Downs, you've got Love. So that's what 3, 4, 5, 6. So one of those guys is going to be there, and that's before you even consider someone's probably going to take a tackle.
I think there's a chance maybe more than one of those guys are going to be there, because I think you're going to get one of the offensive linemen, the offensive tackles. I think
I'd say I'd say at least a couple of those guys are going to be there, and then the question then is, do you want that? Do you get a trade offer, or are you going to go off your board? Because I'm guessing that they're not going to have a receiver ranked above some of those guys.
I think whatever happens, you're not rushing to the podium. All right,
unless it's Love.
Unless it's
7.
Yeah.
I was in the don't draft Love camp, and not because I don't think he's a great player, but because
we had no defense
prior to free agency. I didn't think that we had enough at edge. Now you could probably make a good argument now that they'll be okay with that.
That was my point weeks ago before free agency started.
Yeah,
we could potentially do enough where puts us in a position that drafting Love would be fine. And I think
I agree. I was in the same
in that position.
I was
now.
against it at the time because, and I said that look at the Super Bowl as the latest example. You know, when you've got a running game that's doing really well, if you can't put points on the board, you need a defense that makes those field goals stick, and we don't have that. But now, ostensibly, we do. And so now I can go wide open.
We got insurance just in case Love's there. To me, how it sets up, I think Love is the target, but they're trying to protect themselves just in case he's not there. That's why you go sign a Rashad White. That's why you bring in Jerome Ford.
I don't think
players like that, and you can still, if you can't get Love, I'm sure McNichols will be available after the draft.
If you can't get Love, prostitutes are not that expensive. If you give them a tip, they'll tell you they like you. Paulie Wood, welcome in, man. Peterson set us up to draft the BPA in the draft or trade back if we need. You're right, Paulie. We've all been like super happy. I think now everybody should be, even the freakouts should be super happy with what we've got in our front office. He deserves credit for not overspending on some names that are overhyped or might not have fit our scheme. Thank you, Paulie.
That's right. I think that's right because you said earlier on, and I think you just meant in terms of the numbers of players, but they spent lavishly. I mean, they haven't spent lavishly, really.
No, they haven't, but they've gone aggressive.
Yeah, exactly. So some of those you can see who they value by the types of contracts they've given out. So it was 3 years for Okonkwo, 2 or 3 years for Chanel. 2 years for Cross, 3 years for Owe. So
Owe got 4, I thought. Somebody got 4.
So yeah, got 4. 4
just like unheard of for Peterson.
Chanel got 3. Most of them have been 3, except for some of your depth pieces. Those are
Okonkwo's
need to be 1. Those need to be 1 year contracts. There's no reason to hook yourself long term with everybody.
So you can get
except when they're superstars.
You can get any of those guys.
Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
I was just saying that although I'm delighted with the edges that we've signed, I still don't think it's a guarantee that it's going to give us a dominant pass rush. I mean, Owe had a great second half of the season. Chason did well with the Patriots. Hopefully, Armstrong will be back. But if Bailey's still there at 7, or if Bain is still there at 7.
I don't want Bain.
I'd still be inclined to take him over Love, but that's a debate now. That it wouldn't have been a debate before if they'd not actually signed the number of edges they've got. I still wouldn't be blind to the fact that I don't think all of a sudden people are going to go, oh my God, the Commanders pass rush is elite. No, it might be, but
no, it's elite. But you know what? From what we were, I'll take competent.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I'm looking for.
Absolutely, 100%.
I think an underrated signing is Tim Settle. That's a 3-year deal too. And Scott G points out that 3-year deals are now 2-year deals, basically because of how the guaranteed money splits out. But, that's right. Anytime you're ever talking about a contract in the NFL, none of it actually means what you're saying. It's just
yeah. I mean, you got control over them.
Settle is
got
able to pressure the pocket
power
up the middle, man.
for 3 years over.
That's what I like about that. And I know you guys think we're going to trade Daron Payne, and for the money, it makes sense. But
no one's going to take on that
pressure
contract.
the quarterback up the middle. I know nobody is, but him and Settle, I think, can be very disruptive in the backfield up the middle. And then you factor in Kinlaw, and you bring in, who is this other big fellow that they brought in this week? The guy from the Chiefs. He plays more to the interior. They've got
I can't pronounce his name.
With open arms, we'll take him. Y'all just need to release him. We'll take him.
Oh, we will not take a 7th. We will not give up a 7th for it, because then we take on that contract.
No, they said we will give you a 7th for the trouble. Well, we're not. Yeah, y'all just need to release some, and we'll take him right on up. We'll give him a 1-year prove it deal.
I don't know if you know.
There's our wide receiver too.
We signed Diami Brown today.
Okay, I knew this is coming.
I
don't have any issue with the Brown signing because
so we'll talk about him in just a second. Let's go on to a couple of that we've since Thursday that we talked about that we're happy with. Chris Paul, we're all good and happy with that, right? We brought him back.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
very happy with that. You think he's still our left guard starter, right? They never bothered even.
I don't see why he wouldn't be. I will say this though with Paul, he's big, he's physical. I do think he's going to get some competition from Coleman. And the fact that we are changing into a zone scheme. So you need to be a little bit more nimble as an offensive lineman. And I'm wondering how he's going to fare doing that.
We'll find out. Yeah. I think he was a lot better last year in getting out into space and making that second block, which was what the knock was on him coming in. And I'm going to credit John Keim for telling me that that's what the knock on him was coming in, was his execution to the next level was not stepping forward, which is why we hadn't been seeing him. And then last year it came together. So if he can do that, and honestly, when you're talking those zone run schemes, man, the way they cut back into those freaking holes from the backside with his big fat ass sealing it off over there, ain't nobody getting through there. I'm telling you right now. I'm just saying this based on, I don't know, just general perception. That man's got the biggest rear end on the eastern seaboard. You can take any fat woman from Walmart you find. His ass.
You should this week.
I'll say something else that's fat. I mean, listen, I found out this week that our newly signed linebacker Leo Chanel was the 15th kid of his parents. His mom didn't know she was even pregnant with them, and one day he just plops out. And something's she's dragging fucking a baby by an umbilical cord because she didn't feel him come out.
She's just walking around with it.
Walking around, motherfucker.
Kids.
That's why he's so tough.
All right,
that's why he's so tough.
I gotta say,
him out like a pea shooter.
I'm glad he's tough, and I'm glad that helped him out. But Jesus, the father needed to freaking have a hobby, man. To buy that man some something to whittle, something. Oh my God.
It's not Philip Rivers.
That woman, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I was like, what the? How does that even happen? How can you even do that? Seriously,
that's insane.
Just going back to the receiver thing for a minute. I'm still interested in how it's going to work out, because obviously the Ayuk talk sort of continues. You know, we're heavily linked with Juwan Jennings, who's still out there, and obviously Brian Thomas Jr. is being made available for trade. So, and I look at the signings they've made, and I think it's still lacking something. So
wide receiver is not answered yet. And for my money, I don't want to wait on the 49ers and the games they're playing. Brandon Ayuk, look, man, I think that their plan is to draft, but that's just me based on how they've done this right now. I don't see Adam Peters really going and saying, okay, we're going to play your game, San Francisco, and just wait it out. We're not going to let it go that long. And we shouldn't let it go that long. And if you're the 49ers, why would you just let him why would you do it? You don't have any reason to.
We have 5 receivers on contract right now. That's it.
Yeah.
The two receivers that we just signed are expendable. They might not even make the team.
Van Jefferson?
Absolutely.
Van Jefferson. Do you know what Van
I
Jefferson's
fully
name always reminds me
believe
of? He sounds like a guest star on Different Strokes.
I fully
some
believe
dancer
that
from the past.
Ayuk is in the cards somewhere, but they're not going to just rely on Brandon Ayuk. I mean, they're not. They do have a plan somewhere else, whether it's drafting somebody or there's still receivers on the market.
Not too many. I mean, Hollywood Brown might move you on a number 2, but it's really starting to dwindle.
Tim Patrick, Hollywood Brown, Keenan Allen. I mean, Stephon Diggs.
You got to go Keenan Allen.
Definitely. I mean, there's 1,000-yard receivers still on the market right now.
I mean, we're looking at them. Those are 1-year rentals, and that's just kicking the can down the road. And if that's what they feel is necessary, I wouldn't really mind Keenan Allen.
They might have to. And that's okay if they do. It really is. I don't see a big issue with that. But I think with the talent of Brandon Ayuk, just before his injury, he was classified as a top 10 receiver, a true bona fide top 10 receiver. Why wouldn't you take that flyer? I think it's silly not to. He wants to play here. You get him on a 1-year deal of a contract.
Mm-hmm.
Try him out for a year. Mm-hmm. He could be the heir apparent to Terry.
Well, I mean, he might be. And I would not be against trying out that 1-year deal. But then again, if we let him walk on down the road and go to play in New Orleans, I wouldn't be too sad about that either. As far as our signings today, Dyami Brown, welcome back home, I guess. And Van Jefferson, who, like I said, sounds like a guest star on Different Strokes. And even though Tony doesn't know what Different Strokes was, I do. You do? Hot damn, there you go. It's not like it was really any good.
What are you talking about, Willis?
Right.
All right, look. Dyami Brown is...
Here's the thing. Dyami Brown, when I yesterday I said on X, not a fan of the signing. He has shown exactly nothing. No. My God, you people think I was fucking insulting Jerry Rice or something.
I like with Dyami Brown, it is a book that we bought brand new. We read it. It wasn't good. And we took it, gave it to Goodwill, and then we saw it in a free box and picked it back up again. We've already read this book. We've already read it. It wasn't very good. I think, to me, you should have brought someone in like I would have. And I'm not even a Mooney fan. I would have rather have Darnell Mooney than Dyami Brown. I think they're in the same class. Hollywood Brown, he would have been one. Greg Dortch. Bring in Greg Dortch, Keenan Allen, Nick Westbrook, anybody than a book we've already read.
See, the thing about Dyami Brown to me, and this is the only thing I have found that's a positive in everybody that was yelling at me from yesterday. You know what? Here's the thing. When you say I'm not a fan of Dyami Brown, that doesn't mean I ain't never seen Dyami Brown. God dang, I didn't even see the second half of that 2024 season. God dang, I didn't see that playoff game. Yeah, I have. Can you show me anything else? The guy's best game was 6 receptions in his whole career. He has had more 0-catch games almost than he's had any games with even 1 catch in him. It's ridiculous, the love that this guy brings. Yeah, he's got speed, and speed is so tempting. You can't teach it. And, man, when you see it, you're like, oh, my God, if he could just fucking catch the ball when it gets down there.
Listen, I'm not jumping up and down with excitement.
Well, here's like I said, I found one positive, and that is that we knew he was a bum. We let him walk for $10 million down to Jacksonville. Jacksonville figured out he was a bum, let him go. We got him back for like maybe 13% on the dollar. Yeah. Right. So if anything comes out of this at the bottom of our wide receiver roster and he produces 1 touchdown, that's gravy, right?
Yeah, I just think that, and I know you've already talked about it, but he did develop a reasonable chemistry with Jaden in the second half of that 24 season. Now that might be, like you said, small sample size, might never happen again.
Everybody had a good chemistry with Jaden.
Absolutely, yeah. But him, Jefferson, like you said, some of these guys might even make the team. So
you're right. Yeah.
Especially if they make a move on
fine with Jefferson.
Jefferson's got a Super Bowl ring. He was with the Rams. The guy's made plays in the NFL.
He's a solid end of your depth chart type of receiver that, he's a good route runner. He's a veteran. And like John said, he's got a Super Bowl ring. So Yeah,
They're
I'm
just giving
good with
themselves
someone like that.
opportunities. They're just giving themselves chances.
In looking at the rest of the room, does this move anybody onto a hotter seat? Okay, so you got Christian McCaffrey, little McCaffrey. All right, you got Ed McCaffrey, whichever
Luke,
McCaffrey.
Luke.
You got freaking Jennifer McCaffrey. We've got Jalen Lane, who's not going anywhere. We've got Treylon Burks. They just signed. I don't think he's not going to make the team. I think he makes the team. And do these either one of these guys?
I got Luke is my wide receiver 2 right now.
Well, in that case, we definitely need to do some work.
Yeah. I can't even remember.
That's not a position that anybody wants to be in.
Now, I'll say this: I think Luke gets a bad rap. I thought he was really starting to come on before his injury, and I think he just needs some time to develop with Jason. With Jaden, do I think he's a wide receiver 2? Absolutely not. But he damn sure can be your wide receiver 3, 4.
Yeah,
sure. We got a bunch of 3-4s. I think.
Well, that's the problem. We need somebody to regardless of whether Terry's in a true number 1, you need somebody to come into that number 2 role, and there's a whole bunch of 3 and 4s, as we've said.
Right.
Look, listen. I'm not the biggest Terry fan in the world, but he is our wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
And thank God we have him, because if he didn't, we'd be up Schitt's Creek with a turd for a paddle. But we are.
If we ain't some hillbillies on this show,
there's a huge gap between Terry and the rest of them.
Right.
Big gap.
Yeah, just looking at the numbers, Diami Brown 1 year up to $3 million. Yeah. Treylon Burks 1 year up to $4 million. Jefferson's wasn't even listed, so none of these guys are guaranteed to make the roster.
No, not at all. Now, okay, so let me ask you this. All right, Juwan Jennings is out there. I've seen people look at him, and he's a big guy. He's got big hands, but he's not the fastest dude. Could it possibly be that they're really not interested? If you're looking at Treylon Burks, this is a guy that I find to be quite interesting. If you were to give him a 1 through 5 grade as to how confident you are he'll make the team and be a contributor next year, where would you put him?
Burks.
If 5 is being the dude is going to freaking ball out, 1 being, he ain't really going to.
I'm going to go with.
I'm already around a 3,
2.5.
2.5. Yeah, 2.5. I think he probably will make the team because they signed him back early enough before free agency, so he was obviously one of the guys that they wanted back.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to make the team. I think
absolutely.
You have that. He's tall, he's physical, and he can make contested catches in the end zone like we saw. And I think that's what they want him for.
He can get up the sideline too, man. I mean, there was that one pass that Mariota threw to him that he broke his finger on. Or no, the finger was a touchdown.
I just can't rely on him as a wide receiver 2 right now.
I just can't rely on him.
Haven't seen enough.
We need to see him stay on the field.
That's where someone like Juwan Jennings, I think, Jennings would come in and be your 2.
See, that's where I look at Burks and I say, I think there's Jennings right there. I think the same.
Jennings has proven it so many more times.
Yeah. Jennings, and this is why I like Jennings. He was my only receiver on the, when we did our free agency stuff that I had. I wanted to re-sign Debo, bring in Jennings, and possibly Ayuk.
Debo's still there.
That's true. Jennings right now, he's wanting $10+ million a year. That's what he's trying to wait. And teams aren't willing to go that high yet. Right. His market is a lot lower than I even expected.
If I'm looking at us and him, and I'm thinking that kind of money, and then I'm looking at Treylon Burks, I'm going, I might have him right here at the difference in price.
There was something said that Jennings was expecting a contract of like $20 million. In what world is that going to happen?
That was on Spot Track. That's why you can't believe Spot Tracks.
Yeah,
you can't.
That's also before the money starts flowing. They're trying to just predict.
Yeah, this is coming. It might have been, I don't know if it was Kime or somebody, but they had San Francisco guy come on. There's talk about Ayuk, but then they started talking about Jennings, and teams are right now aren't willing to go pay in the double digit. I
read there was a question about him being willing to play through pain. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But that's one of the things that I've heard. And like I said, now I'm not trying to fluff up Burks or anything like that, but I'm looking at Jennings and I'm looking at Burks. And if Burks is able to play, Why can't he do the same thing?
One thing I think Burks has, he doesn't block much. I know. I don't think
We don't know what he
did
does. He's not really able to be on the field very much his whole career.
But Burks, the thing about Burks is like he's had such bad quarterback play. But then you see wide receivers with bad quarterback play overcome, or kind of
sometimes
quarterback proof.
Justin Jefferson's not.
I just don't think this team can be like, okay, we're comfortable with Burks. You can't do that. You can't.
No, I still think
he might turn out and be that guy. He might turn out and be that guy. But when you're this offense that we think we're going to be running is going to be more like the Shanahan type offense. You're going to want these receivers are going to have to block. They have to.
Yeah, no, look, I'm not putting any like expectation on Burks. I'm just saying maybe that's why they're not really jumping too high at Jennings with his big price, saying we got the same body type here. If we can get potential out of him that he's expected, then maybe we just don't spend that money. It gives them a little bit of leverage. They're not desperate, you know what I'm saying, and having to go after.
Yeah, I don't think they're desperate. I mean, they shot their shot with Pierce. They shot their shot with Dobbs. I'm fine with neither one of them being on the team, to be honest with you. I wasn't too
I would have rather
big
had
on I wasn't too big on either one of them. And now they put themselves in position like, hey, either we figure it out this year or we'll figure it out next year. I think like signing Chig really helped the passing game out, I think, immensely.
He can't say enough how much he's ready to run actual routes, which just sounds great to me. Because, dude, with the ball in his hand, he's a beast. He's a rumbler, man. I love it. He's not your kind of guy that will catch the ball, turn around, get two fucking steps, and go down. He's not that dude. He'll catch the ball, turn around, take 2 steps, nail a safety, drop him, and fucking take off running. Simone says Luke had more touchdowns than Jefferson and Brown combined. Ugh, but I guess it's for depth. They might not make the roster. She's right. And,
might not even be for depth. Might be for training camp competition. Just breaking news, by the way, bad news. Josh Johnson has signed for Cincinnati.
I saw that. And bad for Josh. It's too bad for Josh. He's got to go up to Cincinnati now.
It's how many teams is that? Like 27?
Well, that's the same. He's already signed for he played for Cincinnati apparently in 2013. Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about total contracts he's signed.
Total. Right, sorry. Don't know.
Freaking a lot.
Dude, he's going to have a little something in the Hall of Fame. He really is. He's a little something about the most traveled journeyman in NFL. Yeah. So, all right, I'm thinking about the running back room now. We signed Jerome Ford this morning. We signed Rashad White last week.
Yeah.
Obviously, we think that Love is still in play. A lot of people thinking he's the BPA there is, period.
Yeah.
So, if we go with White, Ford, and Bill, I'm not too upset with that as a committee. How do you feel?
No, I'd be reasonably okay with that. I think it's a better committee. I mean, I quite like C-Rod, but I'm not too upset to lose C-Rod. I think, you've got White who's proved to be quite dual purpose. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run. Bill obviously had some dynamic games where his running was outstanding. Obviously, he's got to look after the ball better. He's got to protect better.
He's a kid.
So he's got that to come yet. And Ford, Ford can do a bit of everything. He's quite strong. He's just for a relatively small package, he's quite a strong guy. So I think as it pertains to some of the other positions, I think they've done enough now where they can go into the draft comfortably enough to say, well, if this is what we're going to end up with, we'll be okay. I think receiver wise, they're probably not in that position. So I think that's that.
Right.
But you have that difficulty then of saying, well, you don't really. Is it worth picking a receiver at 7 based on who these guys are? Now, they might. They might have Tate or they might have Lemon or Tyson. I mean, like you said, Tyson was probably the top dog a few months ago, and then obviously the injury stuff became more prevalent, and that's a red flag. So who knows?
Well, I think Jesse, we started talking about the backfield. If we ended up going in the season with Ford, Bill, and White as our committee, I'm all right with it. I think that's I think Ford brings a bit of a thump to him. You're right. He is a small package, but he hits like a freaking ton of bricks. There's guys that are like that. And he can catch. He's got really good hands. So there's a lot of more dynamic addition with these two lower end free agent backs, I think, that gives our backfield a little bit more pop.
Absolutely.
I like it a lot. And I want to keep developing Krosky Merritt. I think that the guy's got talent, man. I really do. And I don't care whether he was a 7th rounder. I don't think that makes a bit of difference.
Well, it doesn't matter now.
He's not. No, he's not. He's a second-year NFL player is what he is. So
yeah,
I'm happy.
I think you're absolutely right. It's a very good possibility we go in. I think it's, that's why we brought in the Ford to protect, like kind of insurance in case, I think they insured themselves for multiple situations, whatever happens in the draft. And that's include bringing in Ford. And if that's the case, then we're going to be just fine. And you're right. Bill can develop into a really good back, or he could be, we'll just say, just give the example, Tyler Algier. Good back. What was he, a 5th or 6th rounder or something like that? And he could be successful in being that type of back. That still remains to be seen. But yeah, we could be fine going in with our backfield. We're gonna have to pick up someone else, obviously. But again, McNichols, Eckler's still out there. There's many backs that are still available. I'm just throwing names out that could be in case of injury.
Eckler.
So we still have Edwards. Didn't we sign him to a futures contract?
The kid from Michigan?
The kid from Michigan.
I think somebody poached him off of our practice squad last year, but I'm not 100% sure. James Jones, welcome to the show. He says it's a good, decent room, and I agree. I think it's a decent room. It's not
Is it spectacular? No, it's not a Gibson Montgomery, but you don't necessarily have to have that.
Right. You're right. Exactly. What you need is effective. And this running game last year apparently was 4th best in the league, although I can't freaking figure out how. There was only maybe a game or two
had something to do with that too.
True, but a game or two in which you actually saw the run game making it mattered. All right, it seemed like we actually got that number, 4th best in the league somehow, because we were constantly on punting. We were it was just such a fucking haphazard mess. I'm not sure exactly how we did it. But this year, I think we can go in with a plan at running at the running attack and have good backs to be able to do it. So
yeah,
I was higher on the run game than John is. I thought the run game was pretty
last year
good. Yeah.
Well, dude, you know me. I'm a Chris Rodriguez fan. And it was just I'm not down on how our run game was last year. It just was underused, and I'm not sure how it got that high in the statistical ranking because it was just never really a part of anything. It was everything. Of course, that was our whole offense. Nothing was really a part of anything. It was just kind of
it was broken. The offense was broken.
Yeah, it was all kinds of
I think starting with the injuries, you can start there and then work down for the other reasons why it was broken.
Yeah, our plan was just not good, and to the game plans going, and you could just smell it. So I'm all right with that. Now, Chris Rodriguez, he signed with Jacksonville. Well, you guys out there you got a good player. I've been in the tank for Chris Rodriguez for a long time. I think he's been underused here in Washington. I think he's a good thumper back. And if you give him the ball, you feed him the ball, that dude will freaking run into some linebackers and get you yards.
I can't believe they gave him that much. That was ridiculous.
Well, yeah. There you go. So if anything goes, the same way with Jackson,
this is the team that also gave Diami Brown $10 million.
Rodriguez back next year for a nice, sweet deal.
He'll be back.
But yeah, feed him. I mean, he's going to back up Tootin, right? Bashal Tootin would be their starter, I would think, probably. It's hard to say. So speaking of Jacksonville backs, we learned how to say Ashane this week. Travis Ashane. I would have never looked at how you spell his name and thought that.
I'm talking about Miami?
No, I'm talking about Travis, what you would call Travis Etienne. Right?
Oh.
Yeah. He said today, he said like earlier this week, I got to get this straight. My name is Ashane. That's how you pronounce it.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Me neither.
So I would have never. Yeah. So now that's how we pronounce his name. Now I have to figure out how to pronounce half of these guys that we signed this week. I tell you what, it's a tongue twister sometimes when you have to read a bunch of guys that do play football. I will also say this before we get out of here. When it comes to that kind of shit, hockey announcers are amazing. And that's all I'm going to say. Those dudes twist their tongues around so fast on freaking names that are 10 fucking letters long and have one freaking vowel in it. Oh my God.
There's a lot of Scandinavian / Eastern European type names in there.
And man, they go quickly. All right. So, hey man, I guess that's been a good hour here on a Saturday afternoon when we had nothing else to do. Talk about some free agents. And for all of our new friends that follow trains this week, out there on X, that was a trip. Seems like a bunch of robots, I'm pretty sure. But I will say, I've had a lot of good discussions with actual new people this week, and if they're all AI, hey, look, as long as you're not trying to get me on some stupid crypto scheme and your AI is programmed to talk football, whatever. I don't give a fuck.
Did you upset most of them, John? Or
oh no. Well, I mean, you know how people are. Some people get themselves, they take themselves so seriously. Some guy said to me about, oh God, what was I talking about? Something about the depth. Oh, it was about Diami Brown. So you don't know how to build depth. Good to know. Oh, well, good to know. For what? Like I'm a fucking football coach or a goddamn GM? Good to know. Well, I'll tell you what, bud, when you are a fucking GM, don't even take my resume because I don't know how to do it. But if you need somebody that's very good at graphic design, I'm your guy.
I'm your man.
All right, then. So here, let me hit our music and on the way out of here. Anybody got anything left they want to talk about?
We got Van Jefferson. We got Tommy. We got Big Butt. We got.
I mean, there's going to be a lot. There's going to be, they've still got. I keep seeing different figures, but there's still a good amount of cap space available there.
Hell yeah!
I saw a figure today. It was like they still had 70
million. I saw that as well. Yeah, I thought that's got to be. Obviously,
like how? We just had 62 like 2 days ago.
Well, whatever the figure.
When Scotty's on here and he starts talking about the cap, I'm just like, whatever. To me, it just starts going because none of it make a fucking sense to me.
Whatever the figure is, they're still going to be making more signings, but the vast majority of them now are going to be, depth pieces, guys for competition, guys they can plug in. So, let's not get too excited about. I don't think there's going to be too much. There's not too much more headline stuff.
Regardless of draft, I still think we need to sign a cornerback or two. And one that's like a seriouser one, like not just a depth one.
We need some center help.
Yeah.
All right. Whether that's to go after Cushenberry and bring in a starter, or we need some depth there, because if we have a couple of injuries across the offensive line, all right, now you're going to have Allegretti as your center. All right. So there's the depth gone for that. If one of our guards gets hurt, you've got Coleman stepping in. Does Wiley play center at all? Has he played center?
Well, I was going to bring up Coleman at center.
Right. But see, this is what I'm saying. Yeah, one or two injuries, we're light all of a sudden. I think we're going to have to bring in one more center.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with that. Because I don't know if Wiley can or not. I would assume he's played there. But
I think we don't have a center on the roster that's actually played
a true center
more than, a couple games at center.
But if you look at the draft and you look at the centers available, the consensus seems to be that there's a lot of kind of third, fourth round guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we don't have a fourth, but could that be an option for the third pick? Maybe
I could think I don't
know.
It.
But there's also 7. Daniel Jeremiah had 17 receivers in his top 100 players, so that takes you past the end of the third round. So that.
I could see a center either in the third round or a later day pick to try to groom along, because I just think you're courting disaster if you go in. We're going to have to pull in at least one more center. There's got to be another center on the roster for depth.
Oh, there's definitely moves to be made, and there's plenty of time, so I'm not overly concerned about that.
So if we draft one, I wouldn't be too upset with it, unless it's at number 7, and then
yes, then that's time to.
You're not firing anybody after this week. Hell no.
Fire Peters, he's useless.
Right. He's a bum. All right,
he's a bum, Scouse. He's a bum.
He's a bum. All right, we're not pulling out any names, but look, man, a lot of you people really did freak out this week, and that's quite all right, man. That's what fans are for. That's what
it was a moan fest. Look, I was listening to the radio. I don't know if I said this last or not. And listen, 11 minutes into free agency.
Oh, I
people
know.
were calling for Adam Peters' fucking head.
I
Twitter
know.
was meltdown. Our other chats were melting down.
Dude, it's like surfing in the sewer, just freaking going down through that.
And most of those people are hiding now. They're not even coming.
Hey, that's all right. Look, here's what I always say, and for all of you people out there that are yelling at me about Diami Brown, first off, most of you are really cool people. If Diami Brown catches a touchdown, I will happily give me some crow nuggets. I'll eat that. I don't give a fuck. If the Commanders do well, I don't give a shit. If I was wrong back in March when I said I don't like this signing, whatever. I'm happy if the team does well. So there you go. That's the way that's going to be. I'm not sure when we'll be back. We weren't sure 2 days ago, and now we're back today. So I'm guessing, let's say Friday.
Yeah, probably Friday.
We're going to have a couple of guests coming on here. We're going to have the last tier of free agency should be wrapping up right around then. We can really start to think about draft talk. I know our friend Deuce wants to come in and talk with us. Ken Johansson wants to come in and talk with us. My new friend Lucas from 14 Rings Podcast, he wants to come in and talk with us. We got all kinds of people that want to come in and talk with us. So we're going to be glad to have them, and we'll talk with them. So until the next time that we see you, later.
Good night.
Oh, I got to push the button. I sit here dancing all damn day.